Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number. We got Seyrr not appearing in this podcast here apparently. Episode 176, live during Extra Life Game Day 2022. Let me see if I can't fix a few things here. I am your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and I need to fix our... Yeah, this is all kinds of messed up right now. This is what happens when I don't have a chance to test things beforehand because we were live since noon.
Look, I'm not saying that I purposefully tempted fate repeatedly in there, but I did purposefully tempt fate repeatedly in there.
So as you can see, under Seyrr is actually right now our good friend Taliz. Marvelous. What's up, buddy? Seyrr is not on screen right now. We'll fix this here in a second.
Wait,
what's going on?
According to the frames, am I anonymous now? I am going to declare so much stuff canon.
Oh shit! You guys go ahead and talk amongst yourselves while I try and fix this. All right?
Okay. Okay.
So if we need to.
So Seyrr, what have you been up to this week since the last show?
There.
Let's
okay,
see.
so there's that. So now if we do, go ahead.
I found I got actual furniture that is mine and not from IKEA, so that's awesome.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Someone was selling like a reasonably nice coffee table and end table for $80, so.
That's really cool. And you moved, right? Since I saw you last. Very cool.
Yes. I am in a place. It is just my place. I have sole control over the kitchen.
Oh, you love that.
Yes. The kitchen is still not wholly unpacked, though it's enough for me to make mac and cheese, which is my basic subsistence. I'm sad at the world food. So we're good.
All right. Hey, look, we're back up and mostly proper right now.
We are. We are.
As proper as we ever get.
Yeah, we're usually not very proper. So I was half listening to all of that because I was focusing real hard trying to get this fixed. So what is new with you, Taliz? Let's start with you since you have been gone for so freaking long.
Okay, so I took the last year off of the podcast due to stress, lack of time, lack of energy, and I was working on my master's program. I graduate in 2 weeks, so now I finally get to do all the things that I've been saying no to for the last year in order to set up a life where I can say yes to all of the above for all the cool stuff I want to do in the future.
What I'm hearing is that you should have a conversation with your doctor about prep.
I mean, maybe. So what's ended up happening is I just had to say no to a lot of things like 14, Destiny 2, podcasting, playing Pokemon competitively, like all kinds of stuff. But now I'm kind of starting to add everything back in as I'm starting to fill out time, and it's been pretty cool over the last 2 months to like re-find my life and discover all of the things that I'm like, yes, I've missed this, and other stuff that I go, wow, I did not miss this one bit. But I miss podcasting, and I miss 14, so
hopefully the podcast was something you missed, and we're glad to have you on, even if it's only for half the episode tonight. We'll take what we can get of you, sir.
We've only got the tabletop game I've been running for 2.5 years. Today is our second to last episode, our second to last adventure. We're actually closing off the whole campaign the day after Thanksgiving. So that's going to be really interesting to like say goodbye to something I've been doing for 2.5 years. But that ends in just a couple weeks as well. So it's kind of cool to like end a bunch of things and just get a brand new chapter start.
Okay.
You're going to have so much free time that you fill almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Well, step one is going to be working full time again, but not having to be stressed about homework timing and everything else in the process.
Fair. What about you, Seyrr? What have you been up to?
Well, as was mentioned earlier, more moving and unpacking things. I have like actual adult furniture that's not from IKEA, so that's nice. I had friends over. They fell asleep on the couch. It was like really sweet. I get to have people over and like be host and stuff. This is something that is very important to me, and I have not been able to do it for well over a decade.
No, it is definitely a nice thing to have. I mean, like I said, I've got 2 friends joining me, helping me out tonight with Extra Life. It's nice to have, people to hang out with. I think they're mainly here for the pizza, though.
Yeah. No, like pizza's a good substitute for friendship.
Or it's a good way to bribe people into friendship.
Also, I spent most of last week in work meetings, which I conducted fast enough that a lot of branch managers like me now because I didn't waste their time, so that was great. And I played a lot of Genshin Impact, possibly during some of those meetings.
That's
My
why you rushed
manager-
through it, because you wanted to get back into your whatever.
My manager knows and doesn't care because I get my work done.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an adult enough to be able to do what you need to do, more power
Yeah.
to you, man.
But so yeah, a lot of trying to sort through. I had so many books. Well, a lot of which weren't even mine. People were just like, "Seyrr, I need to donate these books. How do I do it?" And like, just put them in my car. So now I need to like go actually donate all these books.
Well, there you go.
You need to curate your own library.
Ooh.
Then you donate the books.
Mostly there already, actually. Oh,
Excellent.
I do have a half bookcase next to the kitchen that ends up having cookbooks, Cook's Illustrated issues, and cooking related manga. The cooking related manga is threatening to spill onto the second shelf. Ooh. All right, I'm going to need a second bookcase.
I went to go
Like,
see
I'm hovering on the edge here. Yakitate Japan almost takes up a shelf on its own.
And that is worthwhile. That's a worthwhile series.
Yeah.
As I was saying,
Plus, also like the super charming one with the two middle-aged gay men in cooking. Like, I don't know if they were purposefully targeting me with that, but
yes, they were completely.
it's super charming.
Anyway,
So yes, my usual nonsense.
I went to a concert on Sunday.
What concert?
Judas fucking Priest.
Dude.
So
That
you
sounds
made sure-
rad as heck.
Fucking
You
Rob
made sure to wear the
Halford.
good tuxedo with the tails, right?
Of course, yes.
There we go.
Rob Halford is 71 years old and is still rocking like a boss. Dude had like so many coat, changes throughout the set. I mean, they went for at least an hour and a half. It was amazing. They had the set decoration was incredible. I was smart and I had earplugs, so I didn't yell too much, so I had hearing and my voice after the concert.
Did you even
Important
really
things.
attend a concert in that case?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Oh.
Because
Okay, then.
I got to enjoy it to its fullest.
Legit.
I've been working too much as usual. Got some very tasty beer that I'm drinking, which I got while I was down in Mankato this weekend.
You're doing all kinds of awesome stuff.
That looks vaguely like fruit punch.
It's a raspberry vanilla marshmallow sour. It sounds weird.
I don't like beer, but I would try that.
This tastes amazing. It doesn't taste like beer. It tastes like
I
delicious.
would try that.
You would love it. Also, I ended up going on a few dates this week, so that was really cool.
I am holding back so many comments. I want you to know. Be grateful.
I am grateful then. But yeah, that's been kind of my week. But as I said, this is currently Extra Life Game Day. We are. Let me pop that up on the screen again because it disappeared after I switched scenes.
No Vatico 2. This is not a date. This is three bros hanging out talking about video games.
Okay, I feel like there's
He's
non-trivial
being a-
overlap in those two things.
Yeah, he's just being a smart ass.
1,000 miles apart.
Transform. Move to center. And we can pop this right there. As you can see now on our screen,
Oh.
we have raised $1,000 out of our $1,500 goal so far. So thank you very much
Aw.
to everyone who has joined us in donating tonight. If you
You
have
generous bastards. We love you.
a few dollars that you can donate, I am putting the link in the chat. We would definitely appreciate that. Any kind of interruption when it comes to donating to the kids, totally awesome. And I want to throw a huge shout out to our Patreon producers, Nick Nar, Aurori, Tibiant, Ravenheart, and Mika. Thank you very much for your support out on Patreon. Let's go ahead and jump into some gaming community news. Let's start with some Final Fantasy XIV. Going to copy and paste this link here to the Why did it do it that way?
I don't know.
I did a bad.
I'll be right back. I have to go get an important thing.
Okay.
Oh, Google threw up.
Yeah, Google threw up the wrong stuff, so that I need to... Let's copy that instead. And Seyrr, thank you for the additional $50. Okay, so I posted the patch notes for patch 6.28. Biggest things that we got out of this, a new North American data center. We got Dynamis or Dynamis. I don't know how they want to pronounce it. I've heard both.
Yeah. A little bit strange.
Along with 4 new servers, so those are live. There were a number of minor job adjustments in PvE and PvP. So if your job was lacking before this, take a look to see if you got any happy little buffs.
As usual, they had the thing with the overview of adjustments where it looked like they wanted to raise the damage floor of ranged DPS and casters a bit, as well as a couple job-specific things.
I see that Marvelous has his banh mi and salt and pepper tofu.
I do.
Indeed. As well as they added a dyeable dyeable sets of armor from a few different dungeons.
Their existing armor that were made dyeable.
Yes.
I know because I really like the look of those sets in general and had most of them in my glamour dresser already.
And the reason they added dyeable versions for that is for our next story. The Tactics Ogre Reborn screenshot contest.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit random to be adding dyeable status to all of these ones in particular. Was there that much demand for it? But in conjunction with the Tactics Ogre Reborn, which all of these sets, the Valerian whatevers and Zenobian, callbacks to a lot of those Tactics Ogre locations and those job appearances. And so in relation to the release of Tactics Ogre Reborn, they're having a screenshot contest to show off those looks.
And this time, the prize is not just a digital what's-a-mahoos or thingamajig. 11 people from each of the regions will be receiving a glass pumpkin. The Tactics Ogre Reborn edition.
Which apparently is a Tactics Ogre thing, though I'm not quite sure what.
So
I've not played the game franchise, so I have no idea.
Wasn't that also in the Deep Dungeon?
Yep, it is a rare item found in several games in the series.
Glass pumpkin. That pumpkin. I don't know.
No, I was thinking the same thing. Apparently, they like restore lots of MP in one of them, accessories in another. But yeah, it's just a recurring item that's associated with the series, which is why it also showed up in the Deep Dungeon.
Fair enough.
Yep. Also, in addition to those glass pumpkins, 1,111 winners from each region will get a Great Paraserpent.
An in-game item that one of the items they can choose is the Great Paraserpent.
No, it just says in-game item prize, Great Paraserpent, and wrapped present.
Well, according to the thing, it says such as the Great Paraserpent. So I think there's multiple items that you can choose from.
You opt into the draw for one prize or the other. It looks like
correct. So if you can, I think it also includes the Scarf of Wondrous Wits, the Bluebird earrings, the Mandragora choker, the.
I don't really have a use for a glass pumpkin, but like a cute scree parasol sounds great.
Scree. All right. Next up. Final Fantasy XVI is 95% done, and they expect a release date announcement by the end of the year.
Is it just me, or did that feel really fast?
They've been working on it for a while.
I think it's because there was no news about it for a while, and so it's like, oh, it's like in the thing, it's vaguely something. Wait, it coalesced into this much already?
Well, also, like, we remember 13. Right? Crystal Tools, the whole thing. Like, 15 was not supposed to be 15.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 13 versus
13 something for the longest time, and then became 15. So it took 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
We also had 14 that was hyped for years. Came out, was awful, died after a year, came back after a year. So 14 had this long dev cycle as well. And so the last two core games have just had these huge cycles that have taken forever. Things like WAF and whatever Brave XBS is currently doing, like those can go fast because they need it to go fast, but they're also in different business divisions. So seeing 16 go from, 16 will happen at some point, to what do you mean there's a trailer, to what do you mean there's a release date inside of 12 months is really fast.
Yeah, I mean, they've given us the release window of winter 2023?
That's insane.
It feels like there just must have been a completely different dynamic on the development of. Yoshi P? Did the Yoshi P make it happen? I don't know.
Yoshi P made it happen. Also, everybody got to work from their dining rooms for the last 2 years, and that definitely changes the morale of your team, and that changes the quality and the speed at which they work. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Anyway, this story is from GameSpot.com, and thank you to Darren Bonthus for writing this. According to where is he? Director Hiroshi Takai and other members of the development team that they spoke with, about 95% game completion at this point. He added that the development team was playing through the game and addressing any issues along the way. He says, the current situation that we play through the game day by day, tweak the rough parts, and brush up the parts that have flaws in performance or drawing. And the rest that they're working on is bug fixing.
And then they get way too good at it and overtune the game.
Yes. And
that Marvelous, I don't know if you'd heard about that, but that actually happened with one of the more recent FF14 Savage raids.
Yep.
They practiced way too much because they were trying to get all the tuning just right, and as a result got much better at it than they usually get in their testing, and so stuff got overtuned.
So they ended up we see every once in a while where they'll pull something or be 4 ads that'll drop to 3 or whatever because the test team is so good. And yeah, I had not heard about the most recent one, but that is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh, but apparently I lied. 16 is a summer 2023 release. It's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that's going to be a winter 2023. But yeah, and also according to Yoshida, they are confident enough that they can put a release date out by the end of the year. I'm betting Game Awards.
Yeah,
they're going to probably have a new trailer or something like that available on the Game Awards in the beginning of December. We'll have a release date by then. Any guesses, thoughts?
I don't even try to guess that kind of thing anymore.
So because you think August.
You know why I think August? FanFest is in July.
FanFest is in July. We get a final trailer and pre-order bonuses, and it's also the end of Q3. I agree with you.
Well, actually, end of Q3 would be September.
Yeah, kind of. It really depends on how good your CPAs are. But yeah, basically. I think August is probably a correct thing. I would love to see it earlier. I'd love to see it in late July.
I don't because of FanFest. I do not want to be worrying about Final Fantasy 16 when we're getting ready to drive to Vegas, okay?
Very valid. I get that. But one of the things that Final Fantasy did in the past, the old N generation and the first few S generation titles, we had these releases that happened in June or July, May, June, July, so that the target demographic got to play it during summer break.
That's true.
Because the target demographic has shifted and evolved and restarted multiple times in the last 30 years, depending on where they feel 16 is going to land in the market, that will also determine where they want to release that game. If it's designed for the 10 to 22 crowd, it's going to hit in May, June, July. If it's designed for the older than that crowd, like the 17 to 30 crowd,
that is what this is actually aiming for. This is the first mainline Final Fantasy that is going to have a mature rating.
And that's going to put it in August for sure.
Mm-hmm. So,
do you guys play Stranger in Paradise, right? The Souls one?
I only played the demo.
Okay.
I played the demo and have been meaning to play the whole thing.
Okay, it's very much, it shows that you can take Final Fantasy lore and make it adult themed and make it really dark while still maintaining the original story. However, if you do not like Souls games, there's no amount of narrative that can change that.
Yep.
So I think they learned a lot from that, so I'm interested to see what lessons they took and they put into the development of 16.
Yeah, I'm certain. Like, I certainly have the history of, oh, hey, it has the Final Fantasy name. I guess I will try it. So
Yeah, and then we play weird crap like Adventure and World of and whatever the hell Crystal Chronicles game came out last year, and it's I'm tired. I'm tired, man. My wallet's tired. I can't do this all the time.
All right,
Yeah.
I popped in the next story about Final
Let's
Fantasy
go.
16. It talks about devs talking about lore, the Game of Thrones comparisons, and the representation following the latest trailer release. This article comes from IGN and was written by Kat Bailey. According to that, let's see here. One of the things that was discussed was there are a lot of Caucasian white looking characters in the trailer. So one thing that Yoshida had mentioned, well, this area of the world in the game is very it's not an open area. It's a very closed in spot. I'm trying to find where that is at here. I had it here a second ago and I lost it. It's a nice article, but there's a lot.
So
of
that means
stuff
we're
in
going to have a more homogenized racial background for the player base or the character base.
Yeah,
pretty much they're talking about with their design concept that they wanted to kind of limit the scope to a single landmass to have this land that was being beset by this blight. And so they wanted to have something that was going to be kind of geographically and culturally isolated from the rest of the world, especially in like an age where you don't have airplanes, television, telephones, all those things that kind of make a large world a little bit smaller and closer together.
This is an entire Q&A, which is kind of nice. One of the questions asked was, will Final Fantasy icons throughout history appear in Final Fantasy 16, especially Moogles and Cactuars? And one of the devs, Kazutoyo Maehiro, said Chocobos and Moogles will appear in Final Fantasy 16. They each have their own role, responsible for certain features and parts of the game. There are a lot of other common elements as well, including monsters like bombs and marbles. And some terminology. But it's a very serious game. So they've gone in their way not to include anything overly comical or things that do not clearly fit into this ecosystem. We'll get the things that we need to have to make it a Final Fantasy game, but this is not for kids. This is definitely for mom and dad. Well, this is for us.
One of the other things they mentioned was that there's a fair amount of stuff where they will pay homage to past games and names, other things like that. I'm suddenly remembering playing Vagrant Story and finding the Balm of Agrius and being like, oh, it's this little callback to that isn't actually like showing the character, but it's having this is taking place in this world where this character known as this, like the little callback in that way.
Yeah. But
13, where's Hope from? Palimpolum, right? Like little stuff like that kind of comes together.
Yeah.
I would recommend that you guys all try and read this article. It's a really interesting Q&A. A lot of interesting things put in there.
Yeah. There was one question that I really liked where Koji was talking a little bit about kind of comparisons to, where did that one go? About the essence of Final Fantasy storytelling. He was talking about how, at least in a lot of ways, there isn't necessarily any one thing aside from crystals, possibly, and a band of heroes setting off to save the world. But looking at kind of the storytelling, a lot of what's going on there, that there are some common threads. And that was a really interesting one to read. I've certainly voiced the opinion that a lot of people say, oh, it's not a Final Fantasy without such and such. You can always find a counterexample. So it was nice to see that considered and discussed.
Yes. And then now this last piece of news that we're going to discuss tonight is a little bit more on the less desirable side. This one's thanks to Decrypt.co, written by Andrew Hayward. Final Fantasy maker Square Enix reveals its first Ethereum NFT game, Symbiogenesis. Now, a lot of people initially thought that this might have something to do with Parasite Eve making a return. Because
the name was right there.
Mm-hmm, yep. And I want to say they use that name in the game at some point, or it kind of has to do with what Parasite Eve was about, taking two different species and converting them into one type of thing. Symbiogenesis is, I think that's what that means.
Yep.
Instead, this is a quote unquote, rather than a robust, immersive, traditional video game experience, Symbiogenesis is described as a web-based, narrative-driven platform that features interactive elements. Players will control their NFT-based characters as they untangle a mystery by completing missions that revolve around questions of the monopolization and distribution of resources, per the official description.
Feels a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Like if I was like someone who's working with me told, okay, I had to make a story for this NFT game, making it about questions of the monopolization and distribution of resources,
and
feels
NFTs.
like what I would go for in protest.
Oh shit. I have zero interest in this game.
I have a horrified interest, much like the whole thing of like where you're watching a train crashing and it's disturbing on multiple levels, but you dare not look away. That's about where I am on it.
I hope this game is such a failure that it makes the SE really look at, you know, their position on NFTs and make an about face.
I don't have NFTs. I did have some crypto because there was a certain point in time where it was like, you can't not be in this because the day turning was so fast and it was worthwhile. But also, I cannot justify, like we say, I don't want to buy a digital thing that doesn't really exist. Guys, look in your glamour chests. Like, come on. Like, we've bought a lot of stuff.
But the difference between that is not something that is only available, you know, it's not just ours. Yeah. It's available to anybody who wants to buy it.
I don't care if other people are wearing Ishgard High School clothes. They should wear Ishgard High School clothes with me.
Right, and there's that was where I was getting to, is there's a difference between you can spend $24.99 and I can spend $24.99 and Bannon can spend $24.99 and we could all get the same thing, where I have to say,
synchronized dance.
Right, but my hero I spent $100 on, and that means that I have a plus 1.5% chance to crit. That's weird. If I'm going to do that, I'm just going to go play Magic again. And I'm just going to go play Vintage. My deck was $111,000. Would I play it again? Absolutely not. But like...
I mean, the alternative would be like where you have something where, not necessarily something with game effects, but you have a cosmetic item that no one else has that particular version of. But I feel like that ends up as something where there are ones that are similar enough that's like, oh, well, it has this slight color difference on the armband here. It's like,
yeah,
do you actually care?
The major difference between them is the serial number. Each individual item is going to have its own serial number that is unique to you or to the person who purchased it. And
it's a cool thing. I like Web3 as a general business concept, but as a end user, I'm not interested. As a business concept, absolutely. But end user, I'm not. I'm good. I'm okay right where I'm at.
Yeah, it doesn't offer me anything I want.
Nope. I think it's a hard pass for this guy. So let's see what happens with it, I guess. It hasn't.
Watch from a distance. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
It exists, and we will keep an eye on it.
All right. So that's the news. Tell us how much time you got left.
Sarah decided to bake something, so they're not going to be here for like an hour. So nice. Let's roll.
Guess what? You might be able to make the entire show.
Possibly.
Let's do this nonsense.
So let's jump right into this. We're back into the music, people. This is Final Fantasy XIII Disc 1.
Yes.
Let's start right here. Prelude to Final Fantasy XIII. This plays during the introduction movie, as well as in Final Fantasy XIII 2, in the ending scene of DLC, Another Beginning, Lightning Story, Requiem of the Goddess. So, but this is basically the start of the game.
Yeah, lots of flashes of scenes that are whose apparent imports are not yet apparent to us.
Is that about the right volume there?
That's a lot better, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it started out quieter, so I actually had it a little too loud.
For anybody that's new to one of the soundtrack episodes, we do talk over the songs. We don't play the whole ones because that helps us stay not in trouble.
Or that and the fact that we don't have a ton of people who listen. I don't know how much we're on the radar, so
be careful about that.
It's a tricky situation. We fully understand, but we're just trying to share our feelings about how we feel when these songs play. And this was a very epic cinematic opening to the game. And I really was like, just, yes, this is so cool. It's very futuristic.
We're going through Cocoon and everything. It's so good.
You get to
I like Cocoon.
Yeah. And yeah, this was another bit where, as this music swells, we're getting a lot of other flashes of scenes.
Kind of gives us a little bit of a glimpse into what we're going to be experiencing as players.
I mean, it says prelude, but I feel like overture might be the right word here.
All right. It basically just kind of goes like this through the rest of it. Let's go ahead and jump into The Promise.
This is like the quintessential Final Fantasy XIII song.
This is the title theme song. So every time you start up the game, this is what you hear. It's also in a lot of this is considered the main theme because they kind of use it in other spots as well.
Yeah.
This is Final Fantasy XIII.
Quite a lot.
And as far as The Promise goes, it's referring to the promise that some people think it's the promise that Lightning made to her sister. Some people think it's the promise that Fang and Vanille made to each other.
There's quite a few promises that get made between various characters throughout this game.
The promise to between Snow and Seyrr.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to replay this game. I just don't like crafting simulators enough to replay 13, so I'm good.
This track is also present in Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. So it's been in, it might have even been a little bit in bits and pieces in 13.2 as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Final Fantasy 13, at its core, it's about the relationships between the characters, how they grow, change, how you get from this disparate group of people who in a lot of cases actively hate each other into this like fire-forged group of friends, practically a family. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of the promises and commitments that they make to each other is central throughout the narrative.
All right.
And also remember breaking some of those promises, the ones that they've made to themselves, like Saz, where he gets radicalized and then he changes while he's interacting with especially Hope and especially Snow, but he changes a lot over the course of the game.
Yeah, I mean, because I almost forgot the promise between Saz and his son. That's another big piece of the story there.
Oh, yeah.
And when that comes into conflict with the ones he made with Vanille.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has to make a choice.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Next song. This is called The 13th Day. It starts out very high-pitched and very quiet. This is playing during the opening scenes as the Purge train heads for the Hanging Edge. Very beginning of the game. Very ominous.
God.
Very, some shit's going down.
Yeah. It's referred to as the 13th day because approximately 13 days worth of events precede and kick off the events of the game, though we only get introduced to them over the course of the game and out of order, jumping between characters. So we're slowly getting filled in the stuff that led us to this very dramatic opening.
Mm-hmm. It's like one of those movies that doesn't happen in chronological order.
In media res is the term you're looking for.
Okay, thank you. Basically, we start in at a certain point, but then we get all the back info filled in so we have a better understanding by the time we get towards the end of it.
At the beginning, we just get dropped into the action.
Yep.
And from what I see of the next track coming up, there's quite a bit of action that we get.
Yes.
Defiers of Fate. This is what happens when Lightning decides to attack everybody on the train.
Run! No, I meant away!
There is a longer version of this. It's on the Soundtrack Plus, and it plays as a background theme at the engine room, the starboard weather deck, and bridge access zones of the Palamecia. Also plays when fighting Atticus. It's an arrangement of Blinded by Light. But it is so good.
Yeah, we'll get to Blinded by Light proper later on.
Yep.
But
Don't worry, we will.
Is that your jam?
So when we get there.
Okay.
But yeah, so this one again, you have this thing of people bundled aboard a train, all in various cloaked and chain type things. It's very oppressive air, and then lightning bursting out of it. Again, really setting the tone for what it's going to be with the name like Defiers of Fate. Another thing that ends up cropping up again and again throughout the story. Also, the line that Taliz referenced of Saz yelling to run and then doing no, away. Really great, both for establishing his and Lightning's personalities.
Defiers of Fate is actually Pyrocats' character's limit break.
You think she likes the game?
She has never played a Final Fantasy game.
Wow.
Ever.
It's a good track.
Defiers of Fate is the name of her limit break that lets her use out-of-game fate points. If you do good stuff, you get points to break the game. She gets to use those points to change her dice rolls.
Ah.
Yep.
Such a good song. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our next track. Saber's Edge. The boss battle theme.
Oh, yes. The combat tutorial, Warmech.
Yep. Well, this first plays when we face the Manasvin Warmech.
Oh, this is another title that has a lot of meanings. Lightning, of course, wields yet another Final Fantasy variation on the word Gunblade, a weapon that transforms between a gun form and a sword form, given the high-tech setting. But also the concept of a blade's edge, the idea of fate or destiny resting on the edge of a blade or a razor and ready to tip in either direction at any point.
And she just, in general, kind of is running on that edge between what she wants to do and what she has to do.
Yeah, learning about what's driving her forward goes a long way towards really developing her character.
Yep. She's a very, very cold personality when we first meet her. She's just kind of a soldier, so to speak.
Her initial design stuff effectively had her as a female version of Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except with pink hair.
She's cold, not cool, because cool characters can like stay level-headed while they do insanely stressful things. She's cold. She doesn't care. She's here for her sister. She's here to kick snow in the balls. She does not care. She is doing her thing.
Oh, that dynamic between her and Snow is hilarious.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Also, if you have played 13, you will remember the two of them do not work well together in a party, period.
Yeah. It's great when mechanics back up the story elements of a game.
It does improve, though, further on in the game.
It does, but Sentinel in general is really hard to use if you're building a Commando Ravager as one of your party members.
So I think I still ended up using them a lot together just because I wanted to make sure that they got leveled up a lot.
I just like both of them as characters, so even if it was a little bit of a struggle sometimes, I use them a lot.
I ran Vanille, Hope, and either Lightning or Fang.
All right, let's go ahead and continue on from Saber's Edge to the Hanging Edge. This is the background theme for the zone, the Hanging Edge. This is where the train was headed to, taking all of the Fall Sea people who were chosen by the Lassie to serve a specific purpose.
The game of critical reception did suffer a little bit from a lot of terminology being thrown around from the beginning, stuff where you had to look in the game's data logs and read through them in order to really understand what was going on.
Yeah.
Not the experience that a lot of people were looking for, unfortunately.
Shout out to May Dean for the comic that they did for Real Life Comics when this came out, where they had May was playing the game and the rest of the cast was standing behind them with two whiteboards. and diagrams and text as they were trying to figure out what a Lassie, Falsi, Magic, Magicite, Soul, like all these words meant, and they just had like a word chart trying to figure out what it meant. It's like, yep, that's the game.
Yeah. As we play through the game, we learned that Lassie are basically giant, sentient robots, so to speak, that are they're a technology. They basically run Cocoon. They are the reason that Cocoon has the technology, the everything that they have, that they take for granted, really. Because a lot of people in that area, they take their day-to-day lives completely for granted.
Looking at you, everybody that works at Amazon.
I mean, the idea of also being unwitting and unwilling cogs in a larger machine is explored repeatedly on that. Just wait till we get to Sid Reigns.
Oh, God. I need one of those beers, Klaus, if we get into there.
There you go.
Yeah. Now,
Cheers.
of course, as we go on, we'll learn that the whole status of Lassie and Falsi is more complex than we thought. That it's not something that's limited just to Cocoon. There's a lot of, again, broader world building that puts us all into context that mostly only shows up if you look at the data logs. I understand, you don't want to, they're trying to go for. So throughout this game, the player characters are fugitives. They're on the run. You don't get to have nice little layovers in town and side quests and blank, because you are running. The entire society hates you. So within that, it makes a lot of sense. I've never really liked the people who criticize, people criticize it as oh, it's a corridor. Most games are, they just disguise the corridor. Here they made it visible for effect.
Yep. Hi, Pyro Cats.
Yeah. But as a direct result of that, there is a lot of subtlety in what's going on that they can't really put in there because, again, it would disrupt the really fast, high tension. You are fugitives on the run. There's not time to sit down and have a long talk with all the exposition.
No, it's, do you need something? What do you need? Cool, get out. That's your dialogue with shopkeepers. It's hard.
Yep. A couple of the later shops actually include coded messages from entities who have taken an interest, indicating that they have been hiding your presence throughout in order to even let you do that.
Yeah.
I
like 13.
You are fugitives.
Yeah, there's a
and
lot
it does not let you forget that.
A lot of subterfuge, a lot of running and hiding, a lot of real quick, attack and get out.
You don't get to go through the main square street of the town and check out all the shops. You are being pursued by an angry mob, and maybe you can throw down some stuff to make a barricade.
If you're lucky. Next track.
I'm thinking of the Palimpolum events.
Yeah.
Those for the Purge.
This was supposed to be such a powerful scene, and it just came off as so arrogant.
Well, this is when Snow really seemed like an arrogant SOB.
And they wrote it really well, right? If you hate the antagonist, then they did their job right.
Right.
It just...
Snow knows
I didn't like Snow. I never liked Snow.
I liked him a lot, but I mean...
I liked him more in 13-2, but that's another game.
That's a Chrono Trigger game, dude.
But it's an amazing game, and
it's Chrono Trigger / Pokemon.
And
it is.
It makes you really see the characters from the original game in a very different light.
But Snow has a very clear image of himself as what he wants. He knows what he wants to be. He is doing his damnedest to be it. He doesn't actually know how to be it.
No, but he's trying to protect everybody. He is trying to be the knight in shining armor.
He wants to be the hero.
Yes.
And one of the first unlocks he has is that Sentinel class, the one that acts as a tank.
Yep.
Some of the mimetic stuff around the character, skits at conventions and the like, focus around Steel Guard. Being there, taking the hits, protecting everyone, it really plays up into this image he has, and so acting as part of his resistance group, Nora, during the Purge.
And this song plays while Snow is trying to recruit volunteers to join his organization, Nora.
Yeah. fun naming on that. Same name both in Japanese and English. In Japanese, it's referring to, of course, like a stray cat, with kind of this image of like, okay, these people who are kind of like on the periphery of society, a little bit outside the rules, doing their own thing. That doesn't work quite as well in English, so it was turned into an acronym for no obligations, rules, or authority. Good job, localizers.
Clever.
So they're anarchists confirmed.
Yeah.
Yes and no, really. They're an organization that's trying to just change the status quo.
There are anarchists, but they're the kind who haven't really gotten serious about making bombs, and mostly just like do nice stuff around the neighborhood. Like they're kind of street punk gang equivalent.
They're pirates like Luffy is a pirate.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not actually doing pirate things. Like,
all right, let's go ahead and jump into the next one. The Warpath Home. And I think the Nora acronym / name comes from this cutscene where this song plays. This is the cutscene where Hope's mother, Nora, saves Snow but dies in the process. Hope does not like Snow because he thinks Snow is the reason his mother is dead.
Which, I mean, it's not an unfair thing to think. A guy who has no business conducting this thing is asking for volunteers to fight against a superior force. His mom joins and dies against a superior force. It's not an unreasonable conclusion.
Especially how young Hope is and how little he really understood what he was doing.
Hope's what, 13 in this game?
Something like that. And then we see Hope in 13-2. It's like, oh, he's actually running the show for the most of the game. Even late in the first game, late in Final Fantasy 13, Hope goes from being whiny and, oh my god, why are you here, to
pretty
Lightning
amazing.
Is stressed out. Lightning stressed out and pissed off. Snow is mad that nothing he's ever tried has worked. And he's the only level-headed person left.
Yeah. He was 14 in Final Fantasy 13.
Okay.
In Final Fantasy 13-2, he is aged to 24 or 27, depending on what point of the game you encounter him, because yay, time travel.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time.
A lot of
Good
travel.
lord.
He got really hot, too.
Seyrr.
He did! I already thought he was, like, cute and, like, doing his best, and then he got hot.
Alright, Seyrr needs a hydration break, apparently.
Well, if you think about it, at the time that 13-2 came out, Seyrr was about the same age.
How old is 13?
It's from 2006, 7?
2009.
9. Okay, so then 13-2 would have come out in 2011.
Yep.
I was 25.
So you were,
holy crap.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, you were the same age as Hope was in 13-2 as well.
I need a moment. My bones are turning to dust. Good lord.
So of course, Seyrr was thirsty after older Hope.
I mean, physically attractive, brilliant, and like intelligent, very determined, knows what's going on. Like, dude's the total package.
If only this episode was about 13-2, we could fully use that as the title.
Plus, thanks to time travel shenanigans, Snow's out of the picture, so I don't have competition.
Tune in summer of 2023 for Thirst Traps with Seyrr, our special episode.
I should probably not do that.
Let's go ahead and jump up to the next one. This is called the Pulse Falsi.
Get out the whiteboard.
In Japanese, it is Parusu no Farushi. Did I pronounce that decently? Yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah. So, we've had all the stuff with Lassie, Falsi, and all that, but these have all been Cocoon Falsi, and all of the fuss is because we have a Pulse Falsi, one of these gods from the horrific alien world of Pulse. Pulse, we don't know anything about it. It is spoken of in hushed whispers. It is outside Cocoon. To be touched by it in any way is to be tainted and become an enemy of society.
Yep. But here's the thing. They're taking this Pulse Fal'Cie and they're bringing it to the hanging edge.
I mean, yeah, to toss it out. Like, the hanging edge is literally like one of the edges of Cocoon to whatever is outside the Cocoon. And so the idea is you take this there, you throw it back to the dirty, disgusting Pulse it came from.
And
At least that's the goal.
After that, they face it later. Because that's what this track is called. This plays during the FMV cutscene between Vanille and Hope after the Pulse Fal'Cie.
The Japanese title Nigete mo ino, did I pronounce that right? Literally is, it's okay to run. And reflects the advice that Vanille gives Hope in this tumultuous time where he's been dragged into this after seeing his mom die. That if you're not sure what to do, that's okay. Like, you can just deal with it later. It's okay to put it off for a bit.
Yep.
This will be a recurring theme with Vanille.
Yeah,
Which Vanille loves to like run away, and there's certain parts where it's like, no, you need to stand and fight. It's like she goes, no, but this is all I'm about, because she knew that she was nothing without Fang, or she felt that she was nothing without Fang. And it was kind of an interesting way to like show her character growth, as she started out with, it's okay to not be okay, it's okay to run, it's okay to be scared, and later she's like, it's still okay to do that, but maybe not right now. Like that understanding where there's a limit to that as well.
Oh.
I found Vanille like deeply relatable in a lot of ways, and really liked her as a character. For much of what turns out to be similar reasons to Selphie from Final Fantasy VIII. Apparently, I find characters really relatable if they're cheerful and perky and have deep sadness underneath. I try not to explore that too much right at the moment.
That sounds like a good plan, but
Yeah, what is that saying about you now, Seyrr? We don't have 3 hours for you to expound upon that. So let's go to the next song.
I have a therapist for that.
Hey Seyrr, it's okay to run.
Hey, Seyrr, face it later.
Yeah, especially with what we're running to next.
Yes. Snow's theme. This is using one of Seyrr's favorite words, Snowvilliers' leitmotif. Plays at the Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say this plays at the hanging edge while playing as Snow when he joins the party, both times in the Pulse Vestige, and at the Agora in Palimpolim. It also plays in Final Fantasy XIII 2 in the Sunlith Waterscape 300 AF, as Snow and Noel are introduced to each other. So this is Snow.
It's got that rebellious aspect, that kind of like, yeah, I'm the cool hero.
Puts his gloves on.
My jacket gets a stitching pattern on the back when I fight. Okay, sure. Weird, but okay.
Collar.
I mean, there wasn't really any other visual way to... Like, I think it's supposed to be some type of emblem, because they have all the AM
ties
technology.
His bandana down tight. He just gets just getting all snow. And of course...
It's a bit of a himbo, and I'm here for it.
And of course, he fights with his fists.
Yeah, more than once. In fact, I think someone kept a running count of the number of times that Snow tried to run up and punch one of the major bad guys in the middle of a villain's feast, getting knocked back every single time. Dude never learns.
He thinks with his heart, not
it's
with
gonna
his
work
head.
one of these times. It's gonna work someday.
Oh, this attitude has not endeared him to his future sister-in-law, of course.
Though, if you think about it, it is kind of sweet. He's a little bit of a meathead, but his heart's in the right place. But he's just
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a delightful scene in 13-2, one of the little side choice things where with the right one, you can have his fiancée, Sarah, go on a googly-eyed stream of consciousness word vomit about how much she loves snow. The scene is hilarious. It's great.
All right, continuing
But
on.
yes, very, very big contrast to Lightning's cool, cold, methodical, planned, no movement wasted. It's easy to see why the two clash so much.
Snow thinks he's cool, but he's very hot-headed.
He does use Ice Element as his main focus, of course.
Which is weird because, like I said, he's very hot-tempered and ready to go. You know. Well, let's go ahead and continue on to our next theme. The Vestige. Again, this is one that starts off slow.
Something. It takes two Lassie to control him, and he has to have a bike, which is requiring control.
Yeah, because he has the Shiva sisters, right?
Yep. It takes two to control him, and he has a bike that also requires control, which is the thing he doesn't have.
So the thing that he's forced to get over the course of.
Yeah.
See, Donatello gets a stick, right? Like, it's the same kind of logic.
So this plays at the Pulse Vestige, as well as the Taijin's Tower Palisades.
It's in sharp contrast to a lot of what we've seen in the Cocoon setting with that kind of like high-tech electronic music. This is going back to a little bit more mystical, magical feel that we haven't had for most of it. And so it's a really good way to show just how much this contrasts to the technology-based world that they've been dealing with for most of it.
Well, because we went from technology to Pulse, and so we went from this is your robot train run by 3 AIs that want to destroy everybody, and here's some flowers next to a beach.
Well, no,
Yep.
we're still on Cocoon.
Are we?
Yes, we're still on Cocoon right at this point.
But it's the Pulse
That's right.
Vestige and Taijin's Tower. It's stuff that is elements of Pulse, even if they have ended up in Cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Okay.
So,
Again, it's been apparently 15 years since I played the game, so...
Because
But yeah, I mean, even if it's stuff that's in Cocoon, it is stuff that has this element of Pulse. Pulse as this really contrasting land. When we do get there, there are signs of some amount of technology, but it's not in the same all-dominating part of like dominating every aspect of their lives.
Yep.
You do see some elements of it, but it's something a lot more akin to what you might find on Earth today, and maybe not like a super big metropolis.
all right, let's jump into the next one, which is another different feeling song, especially when you listen to the name. Ragnarok. Ragnarok is something that we learn as we play through the game. Vanille and Fang are trying to avoid happening.
Yeah.
Ragnarok, like in Norse mythology, is the end of days. It is the destruction of the world.
Yeah. We get very vague hints of a hazy vision through a lot of static. It's unclear what exactly is, just that there is something big and powerful and destructive.
Yep. This first plays when the Pulse Lassie or Pulse Falsey transforms the party into Lassie. So now they are Pulse Lassie. They have been...
Yeah. Quick terminology, just because I
Yep.
don't think we formally gone
No.
over it.
we
So-
talk about what the Falsey are, but the Lassie
So-
are
Falsey are the big gods. Lassie are people who have been marked by a Falsey and given a focus, pretty much like a task that they have been given by the gods.
a holy job.
Yeah.
Holy decree.
There is-
There we go.
There is very little say in this. The gods mark you, and you now have this focus. You now have this thing that they want you to do. It is typically unclear what exactly they want. And if you do fail in this task, you do transform into a Seiyth, a mindless zombie monster kind of thing.
And if you
So-
succeed, you turn to
If
crystal.
you turn to crystal so that you might be revived in some later age when the Falsey needs something from you again. This is not a world where you want to come to the attention of the gods.
No, you
Being
want
a-
to just
a-
kind of go through and not be noticed.
being a tool of the gods is a pretty awful thing to be here.
Do not be the nail that gets hammered down.
Yeah.
So this is a very,
I mean,
very
that nail
heavy
is doing
scene.
very important work holding things together.
And why do they pick children? Why do they pick innocents? Why do they pick people that are incapable? I don't have time for this, but yes.
Yeah.
13 is a good story, for sure.
Yeah, the gods have their own set of morality and don't care for these petty concerns. If a small child is most able to accomplish what they want, congratulations, small child. Yeah, the party in this particular case, the party is marked by the pulse falsi within the vestige, and thus they are specifically pulselessy, as opposed to the cocoonlessy that we've heard talked about. So not only have they been marked by the gods in this really terrible way, but they've been marked by the terrible cursed gods of everything that is anathema to cocoon. With that action, which again they have no say in, they are marked as literal enemies of cocoon.
Yep, they're enemies of the state now.
Which, given that four of them grew up. We don't have any. Well, it's a later Bible spoiler, whatever. Given that most of them were born and raised in cocoon and see it as their home, suddenly being told, "Okay, you are now an enemy of your own society and everyone you know and love," doesn't go great for them.
No.
Nope.
Though their family and friends don't abandon them, fortunately.
Well, I mean,
they leave them be, but they don't hate them.
I mean, so it's kind of like I'll say it's like the reaction to finding out a terrible fate, finding out a terminal illness or about some other thing that's happening, and all the different types of grief that each of the party members go through.
Mm-hmm.
Snow in heavy denial, thinking that he can just hero and punch his way through it and fix it.
Of course. Can't you?
Yeah, if you try harder.
All right.
Punch harder.
Every tool's a hammer.
Our next theme. In the sky that night.
Welcome to Chord Progressions 101.
If you listen to it, this is an arrangement of The Promise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just a little more cheerful, a little bit more upbeat.
Yeah, we mentioned that there's the 13 days as the thing that happened before the start of the game, the events that led to it. This is a music that plays during flashbacks of the 11th day, where all of the characters, pretty much by coincidence, end up in the seaside town of Bodom at the same time for a nighttime fireworks festival. And so we do get to see all these different perspectives of them, each watching the fireworks, each having come to it with their own situations. Saz having found out that his son is now a cocoonless. Lightning trying to decide what she's going to do about the situation that has arisen with Snow and Seyrr. Each one of them with their own coming to this and unknowingly united by viewing this thing together.
Very Japanese.
Yep.
Very, very Japanese.
It's a very happy little ditty, though. I like it.
And it's this thing again of these bonds being united in the context of this little nighttime fireworks festival. It's a happy summertime thing.
It's Moonfire Fair.
Yeah, it is a nice moment of respite and happiness before the disaster.
Yep. Speaking of, well, let's see what this one is. This is Promised Eternity. This plays during the cutscene where Snow proposes to Seyrr. It's also heard when Vanille encourages Hope to follow after Snow in the Pulse Vestige, and a brief reprise is heard when Lightning watches Hope sleep in the Vile Peaks.
This was a very pretty scene, but it was a very heartbreaking scene because we've already seen what happens to Seyrr before we see this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Seyrr has just found out that she's been marked as a pulselessy, and of course she's fearing the rejection as well, and this is where Snow goes ahead and goes through with the marriage proposal that he had already been planning to make. To him, it doesn't make one whit of difference.
Yes, and that's great and all, but also, marriage is not just who you love. Like, you have to make logical choices at some point in the process too. And yeah, this is a scary one.
He's just doing what he can to try and hang on to the person he loves.
He's solving the problem with his fists.
Fists of emotion.
But it's all he has. It's all he knows.
Jewelry. Because this is the point where he gives her that necklace.
Yes, which, oh my god, did you ever see how much that necklace cost?
It's like $250 on this SE store, isn't it?
It was stupid expensive, and cosplayers bought it up. It was nuts.
It was sterling silver, though, and gorgeous.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I've held one. It's amazing. But yeah, it was up there.
It might have even been more than that, actually. Like, maybe it was 700. I don't know, but it was a lot.
Here it's instead of engagement rings, engagement necklaces are the custom in this society. I believe it's something that looks like a little model of Cocoon.
Yep. It's the necklace is actually what the box art is for Final Fantasy 13.
Which, in context, they shouldn't really know about, so it's just a design that's become popular, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, they chose that design for the game because they put it in here. And it's supposed to symbolize Cocoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you're down for an AliExpress one, you can get one for $30.
No thanks.
Yes, Cocoon in a stylized setting.
We have Cocoon at home. Cocoon at home.
And there's
from Wish.com.
There's some Wish ones. There's a fucking eBay one that's definitely bogus. But yeah, the SE one was $250.
Okay, I was right the first time.
Probably not in stock anymore. Holy crap, it's still in stock.
Oh, and that's a piece also played in Final Fantasy 13 too, during the cutscene where a particular character talks about how she survived the Purge. The title Promised Eternity seems to suggest this idea of, even though we're in these dangerous situations, like somehow enduring, finding a way through. Snow with his, no, we'll find this way through. I'm proposing marriage because I'm expecting you're going to be there. Mm-hmm. Vanille hoping that she can encourage, wanting hope to resolve a problem and hoping that by talking with Snow he can resolve it. It seems to be a piece that has like a hope for the future. Eternity promised, as the name says. Stuff will be okay.
All right. Next song. This is the love song of Final Fantasy 13. This is the short version of Eternal Love. This plays during Snow and Seyrr's scene near the fireworks in the Japanese version. So we probably didn't get this in the US version.
I think it may have been playing in the background while they were talking.
And because it's got a lot of lyrics in it, we're going to go ahead and skip to the next one.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, yeah. It like, they're flying through the fireworks. We've got this big marriage proposal. It's a song for a big romantic moment. Yeah. For that big proposal.
Right. So what's playing now is the Lake Brescia theme. Aptly named Lake Brescia.
This is after they've been marked by the Lassie, or they've been marked by the Falsi. The entire Pulse vestige falls down into Lake Brescia. The Japanese name also literally being Bilge Lake, which, given the whole on the edges of Cocoon, seems a little more fitting. But the power of the dying Falsi being released transforms the waters of the lake into frozen crystal. And so they're plunged far below the surface of Cocoon into this crystalline wonderland.
This was a cool scene. This was well animated. Also, remember, because this game is older, a lot of the animation didn't hold up from that era, but Final Fantasy XIII's animation very much did. They spent a lot of time making it look very, very pretty, and this was one of the scenes that really showed off what a PlayStation 3 was capable of.
Yeah, it's very solid. It looks good in the remakes for PC, Xbox.
Is there a remake version for PS5?
No. They haven't remade it, but like I said, they upped it for when they released it on PC.
Okay.
Kind of a remaster, I suppose.
Got you.
Yeah.
Up-resing a little bit, adding a few different features and functionalities.
But yeah, huge waves from the vestige plunging down into the water, frozen in place. You're literally walking in a moment frozen in time on a... I had the word and then I lost.
That's all right.
But yeah, which again, given a lot of the events here, there will be stuff that focuses a bit on snow, is connection with an Eidolon, a lot of the ice aspects. So having this kind of frozen water ice thing is really fitting for some of the stuff we'll see. Also, Seyrr frozen in crystal.
No, get his Eidolon first.
He does.
Yeah.
Because he stayed back wanting to protect the crystal. Wanting to protect Seyrr.
And also
That's
lost
why he
control first, so...
Well, it's not quite lost control.
Well,
we'll get to that momentarily.
I thought that was the
We will get to it momentarily.
Okay, so let's... So momentarily... Okay, so we have one more song before we get to that
I
point.
have spent a non-trivial amount of time analyzing the plot and lore of FF13.
Okay, so this...
So happy you did.
This is called the Pulse Lassie. So this plays after they go through the Lake Brescia theme. This plays in Lake Brescia when Lightning, Saz, Hope, and Vanille see Psycom looking for purge survivors after they had tried to save people from the train.
Yeah. Oh, Psycom's not trying to save people from the train.
No, after the Nora, after
Yes.
Lightning and her and all the people that were playing as
After that whole disaster.
that whole thing. Yeah, Psycom is basically the military arm of the Cocoon Fall Sea, so to speak.
Yeah.
Lightning was actually a Psycom soldier.
Who went AWOL.
Yes.
The purge was billed as it's a humane solution. We've had these stuff that's everyone is potentially tainted by this pulse thing. So we're going to it's like an exile thing. We'll take them out there. It's the most merciful thing. We can't have them in our society, but we'll take them to the edge, listen to there, and maybe they can find their way. That is what it is pitched as. The actual plan all along was, once these people are out far enough, we're just executing them all. Can't risk that taint. For the greater good, etc., etc. And so, newly marked, branded as pulse playthings, they now know that the Psycom officers that are looking for them are not there to rescue them and bring them back. They are there to finish the job.
Yup.
And the final track from Disc 1. Eidolons! Or Eidolons, however you want to pronounce it. I've heard both.
Yeah.
I've heard both as well.
This plays during the battles against the Shiva Sisters, the Havoc Sky Tank, Bahamut, and Hekatonshire. Hekatonshire. I don't know how do you pronounce that?
Hekatonshire.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird, but yes.
Yeah, the word literally means 100 hands. It's an ancient Greek mythology thing.
I just know that it costs 2 Earth CP and breaks things. That's all I care about.
So yes, it doesn't play during every single Eidolon fight, but most Eidolon fights are either a solo or I think a lot of them later on are duo fights, where the goal is not to defeat this thing. The goal is to try to drive up a meter enough to kind of show its respect and regard for you. If the time runs out, it does, of course, finish you off instantly.
It's a bit like every time we meet Rama. Like, he doesn't care whether or not we can beat him. He knows he can kill us every time. Doesn't matter what game it's in. He just wants to fight us to determine what the strength of our resolve is.
He's there to judge us.
And Eidolons kind of follow the same idea.
Yeah.
Determine our
Lore-wise,
worthiness.
we find out that an Eidolon is something that appears from a Lassie brand, pretty much when the Lassie is at risk of kind of giving up, giving into despair. And it's something to kind of crystallize that threat to make it a thing that to fight against, and either that despair will destroy them or they will overcome it. But it's kind of forcing that confrontation at that point. If they're able to overcome it, then they are in addition to metaphorically seizing the power of that resolve, they literally gain the power of the Eidolon as an ally that they can call into battle.
Yep. It kind of becomes a summoned limit break.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good way to put it.
When you get to a certain point in your battle resolve, You can call upon the power of your Eidolon, and they fight with you, and really nasty attacks go out, and it's cool.
Yeah, the summon limit break is done as a 2-stage thing, where the summoner and their Eidolon fight in the normal battle style, but using different attacks. The Eidolon acts to support you. So of course it will behave different. Each Eidolon behaves differently for each character, depending on their style and the jobs they tend to have. They act to support that. As that happens, a gauge builds up. You can choose to activate the gauge at any point to enter a Gestalt mode, where the two, the summoner and Eidolon, combine forces, the Eidolon taking on the form of a vehicle in each case, or some method of transportation.
Yep, in the case of the Shiva sisters, it's a motorcycle.
Saz gets a car, and
Yep.
And Lightning gets a horse.
Yep. Saz just gets this, or was Hope stands on top of Alexander and is just like, I do what I want. Like, he just walks around. He didn't care.
Alexander takes the form of a big mobile fortress. Fang's Bahamut ends up taking on the form of a aerial glider.
Yep,
and for Vanille, her Hecaton Seyrr becomes Magitech armor effectively.
Yes.
It's pretty sweet. I thought it was a very well done way to bring summons into this game.
Very tech-based game, and you're like, okay, how do we bring in these summons, Eidolons, Guardian Forces, whatever they are? How do we bring these in a way that makes any kind of sense, when especially we know, as players that have been playing the franchise for a while, where everyone comes from is from all over the world in different lore, different legends, different mythical creatures and powers. It's like, how do we get Mesoamerican style, like, ethos, and also Shiva, which is not Shiva, but is an ice queen now? Like, how do we get all that to work together, but also give us tanks? Like, it's a really tough balance, and they managed to do it extremely well. It's a Final Fantasy game. Disbelief stays at the door while you play it.
So yeah, that is the intro, the first disc of Final Fantasy XIII.
Yes.
It was very. I like I said, when these games came out, I had this one and 13-2. I had them, on the day of release.
Yeah.
Same.
Aurori, thank you so much for that donation of $25 to Extra Life. We greatly appreciate that.
Every little bit.
Exactly. Every little bit is very helpful. I'm just waiting for the stinger to go off too. It likes to do what it likes to do whenever it wants to do it. So we're just kind of vamping for that.
Yeah.
What else did you guys really like about, the game?
So, I'm going to go on for a bit. So if you want to get into some stuff first.
I think my favorite, again, the
point,
combat.
Let's say up to this point.
Up to this point in the game, Seyrr. I want to hear your thoughts since you've overthought the crap out of this.
There it is.
Okay. I will first say that I played this at a really formative time, so a lot of the various things that the characters were going through reflected like struggles and changes that I was going through in my own life. So there's a lot of stuff I found highly relatable, which is probably part of why it's so big for me. But I really like stuff that kind of challenges and does something interesting and different. So having I've mentioned earlier the whole thing of it's just like a corner thing. You're just running down. It's like, yes, but so many of these games actually are. They create the illusion of being able to go around freely, but there's a set thing you go to. Japanese RPGs, they're much more story based, and to have that strong narrative, you're gonna need to restrict the player's options a lot more. So it's like, that's not even that weird. They're just not bothering to hide it, and that's kind of cool. They're specifically making it visible for the effect of being fugitives. I've also talked a little bit before, the battle system. This is another one that, again, I know was really controversial at the time. People feel like, okay, you're just mashing auto battle all the time. And the game is kind of deciding what to do. That one was a bit weird for me for a while until I had been playing, I think it was Final Fantasy VI. I was playing it through with a friend who had never played any of them, and so I was showing him all the stuff. And I remember playing it and thinking, all right, I'm so much better at these games now. I understand these more complex systems and all the fancy stuff you can do. I'm going to use status effects and all this complex thing.
Fight,
And after
fight,
a bit of it,
fight.
yeah,
fight.
after a bit, it was like, oh no, just mashing fight on everything and then saving up all your spells and eliminating the boss with them is actually so much better.
Yeah.
So it's
You
like,
just
okay,
Genji glove, 2 weapons, haste everybody, protect everybody, run runic forever, and smash the crap out of stuff.
even before you get some of that endgame stuff, there still wasn't. It's like, okay, we throw off whatever the best blitz is for this. The elemental stuff, you scan a thing or guess at things, and then you know the element, and like there was a lot of stuff like that where I was like, okay, this wasn't actually that deep anyways. And so what I liked was it was kind of automating that. The AI is actually pretty good. As you're fighting enemies, it will be filling in kind of a scan profile. You can choose to use a scan ability to fill it in faster. And the AI adjusts its actions based on what is known about the monster. If it's something you never fought before, your mages will start testing out spells of all elements to see which ones are absorbed or weak or other things like that. And once they've worked that out, they only... So like the AI was really good on that. But what it ended up becoming was it's less about, okay, give the fight command, give the fight command, give the fire command. Because like at the end of the day, that's kind of boring. It became more about setting the paradigms, saying, okay, everyone is very attack focused right now. Okay, we're having a tank, a synergist, and a saboteur. We're focusing on defending and doing lots of buffs and debuffs. You're like kind of dictating the flow of battle at a higher level, saying, this is a phase where I want you to attack harder. This is a phase where I want you to like hold back a little bit or start really eliminating a lot of their buffs and throwing on some debuffs. And you're kind of directing the battle at a higher level because that micromanagement is just not interesting.
And I know that you played 12, which was just intro to coding, by the way, if nobody's played 12.
Yeah.
And you want to learn Python, just play Final Fantasy 12 first, and you're going to skip the first 2 lessons of Python.
Yeah, it will teach you so much about basic coding. It's really impressive.
But you ended up with the same kind of thing, where you can press X and win the game. You can also spend 20 minutes of thinking, and you can get to that, oh, the AI is learning as it fills in the data that we know. You can also spend hours of thinking and go, no. My paradigms go in order, and I took Fang over to Ravager to learn only Fire 1 to change the stats in order to spike so that I can break in less time to do. And you can create these incredibly complex things, and you still actually have to either press X on somebody like Lightning, because like what she's doing as a commando doesn't really matter. But then everyone else, you're wanting to pick and choose what what Hope is doing to make sure you get your hastes and your buffs up at the right time. Yeah. So it's really interesting to sort of see the difference between press X to win the game, understand that the game is really smart and is doing it in a way that you're not used to, or understand both of those things and hyper control the crap out of the game and break it upside down. And it's really fun every single time.
Yeah, Final Fantasy XIII was the first game in the series to introduce the stagger mechanic.
Yep.
Yes.
And that changed how a lot of people viewed the battle system within Final Fantasy, because like I said, a lot of it was either you would fight, you would magic, you would item, or you would flee.
Make hit points go down.
Yeah.
What makes the biggest number happen?
Whereas what the stagger mechanic does is you're not trying to do a huge amount of damage. You're not doing the things that do the most damage. You're doing the thing that takes the enemy by surprise. You're trying to get it to a point where it basically doesn't know what to do. It's staggered.
You're breaking through its defenses.
Yep. You're staggering it. You're making it when it's staggered, it is heavily able to be damaged, and in many cases it's actually no longer attacks you anymore, so that you can just go ham on it for a small period of time. You can continue to build a stagger bar if you want to get it even higher, which increases the amount of damage that you can do to it as well. It was a very interesting thing that they brought into it. And
13 rewards you for being efficient. That is what it does, is it rewards you for being efficient and utilizing all 3 of your characters and all 3 jobs that they get access to correctly and efficiently. Because you can just throw up 2 commandos and a Ravager, press X, and get through the entire game.
It's just
Boring.
boring.
You don't want to do side quests.
Boring. It's boring, but you can. But if you start understanding, no, I'm going to start with 1 commando, 1 buff, 1 debuff, drop the debuffs for healing, drop everybody to triple Ravager, then drop everybody back to, like, you can
Commando
start
at
putting
that
people
point, yeah.
in an order. I never got to my 6th paradigm. Everything was dead by the time I got to the 5th one most of the time.
There would
Because
be specialized setups for some of the side quests.
Side quests
and
bosses.
bosses.
Hunts. They brought
Hunts.
the hunt system back a little bit into Final Fantasy 13 from Final Fantasy 12.
That's
God, I
some
like
stuff
that.
we'll
You
get
remember
to.
the long GUI fight?
Yep.
Some of that is stuff we'll get to in a future episode, of course, when we get to those.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that because
There was one other thing I wanted to throw in, because as we were talking about it, I put together something. You know me, I'm the type of person who uses the word ludonarrative. The fact that you have one character at most that you can directly control, and the others you're maybe shouting orders to. This is a game about the developing relationships between these people. And in battle, you start to see, okay, Hope tends to play a little bit defensive here. I can count on him to do this, but for this, I'm going to... Like, you start to associate personalities with them, and you start to learn how you can work with these people and who you're going to want for it. And again, for a game that's all about the developing relationships between these people, I felt like that was a really nice touch.
yeah,
You want Saws in your party until Hope figures his life out, and then Hope is better. You want Fang in your party until Lightning is done with her existential crisis, and then you switch back to Lightning. Like, there's a way that works. That's very, very accurate in how that works.
And even if you decide you like this particular character and want to keep them around, they're going to the dynamic of how they play interact with the others will change as they unlock new abilities and as you face different types of themes.
If anybody would like to learn how to make characters, I highly recommend the Screenwriter's Bible. I have read this stupid thing cover to cover 3 times in the last year, and it has ruined every form of media for me forever. But
That
you
means
will
you enjoy it differently now.
it does. Like, I don't like 13. I put it in my bottom 5 of core Final Fantasies. However, I now respect the way that characters were built and the way that the narrative was designed significantly more. Before I had read this, before I started writing screenplays, I was just like, cool, so I press X. I felt like I did when I played the Final Fantasy VII remake. Oh, I can set it to easy and put my controller down and eat spaghetti while the game plays itself? Outstanding. I'm going to do that because I don't care.
Sometimes you want to enjoy the story, and sometimes you want to ludonarrative it up.
And that's when you drive Vanille's car into the knees of the giant turtle over and 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 over until you get all the items you need to make all the weapons you want.
Such a sweet, perky girl that learns the death spell.
Yeah, yeah.
she's actually the most dangerous character you play as.
She is.
100%. She is like just absolute, yeah.
And story-wise, she's got a lot of shit going on and turns out to be a major driving figure behind a lot of the plot.
Yep.
And a lot of her character arc is learning to deal with that knowledge.
Yep. That's why she's always running away, because she doesn't want to confront the truth.
She is actively seeking to die at a couple points.
So I need to get dipping out, but my last thing for Vanille and my last thing for character design and things I love about 13, things I'm not a fan about. Whoever designed the deer antler multi-piece weight and chain whip thing that she has.
That's weird.
Dude, just give her a hammer next time. Like, that was ridiculous. Like, that made nothing. Renoa's weapon doesn't make any sense in 8, right? How did the blade land backwards on my wrist? Like, none of it makes sense. That's fine.
That's not how boomerangs work.
But for God's sake, please give us something other than the deer antler whip thing. That was bizarre.
I think it was supposed to be partly to, like, the thing where we find out that no, she's part of this alien world that has this strange... Yeah, like, it is a weird weapon, though.
Gun, sword, fist.
Boomerang.
That's it. No, fuck boomerangs. Gun, sword, fist. That's it.
But Hope has a boomerang that he can use his glove to manipulate its position because it uses AMP technology. It's for sports, but he's adapted it to murder.
And on that note,
you had me in the last half. You didn't have me in the first half.
I mean, everything up to the bit where he adapted it to murder is from the data logs.
And I need to go, so we're gonna end this here.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and end this episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating or review. It helps other people to find our show and lets us know how we're doing. If you really dig this show, you can consider subscribing to us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, where you can get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes and badges. Or you can go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio and support us like our benevolent overlord, Aurora Fenrir, our shadowy foreign investor, Tapian Salts, or our secret nevermore, Ravenheart. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade equipment, as well as do as fun things like contests and giveaways. But any kind of support, whether it's likes, emails, tweets, retweets, subs, follows, donations, anything, we greatly appreciate it because we just like interacting with you guys. Check out our backlog of episodes at our website, PhoenixDownRadio.com. Email us with questions, comments, suggestions, or just to say hi at podcast@PhoenixDownRadio.com, or hit us up out on our Twitter at PHXDNRadio. Taliz, since you haven't been here for a while, give us your shout outs.
All right, so my name is an adjective, my hair is a secondary color, my pronouns are he, him, and I identify as a problem. My name is Marvelous, and I am so happy to be back on the podcast. I have been playing Final Fantasy since I was 4, so I was a host for about 3 years, took off for a year, and I'm back. So if you are new to the podcast, hello, it's me. And if you're old from the podcast, hello, I'm back. I'm sorry, and you're welcome. You can find me on your least favorite social media at Marvelous Tofu. You can also find me on the Discord at Marvelous Tofu. And I love everything about cars, anime, Japanese culture. I talk about localization. I'm a screenwriter, and y'all can message me with cool stuff. Shout outs go to a whole bunch of rad people, including all of my classmates that have helped me writing this last year, who have been really excellent in getting me better at what I'm doing. Shout outs to my 3 players for Final Fantasy RPG. We've been playing for 2.5 years. We are on our second to last adventure is tonight. It's been kind of a cool experience to have this happen every other week for 2.5 years.
Crazy.
But yeah, so that is, a lot of things are coming to an end and a lot of things are coming to a beginning. So I hope you all do good things, and I hope the world treats you favorably. And until next time, friends, mata mitane.
Thank you, sir. Seyrr?
All right. Shout out this week to my friend Steven, who has been bullying me into doing Ring Fit Adventure on a daily basis. This is the first day I don't hate you because my legs still hurt, but the endorphins have started kicking in. I'm still going to gripe at him about it later, but...
Just drink it off.
You can find me on Twitter at FF14Seyrr for however long that lasts before I'm like, okay, no, I'm just going to join the Twitter exodus. But for the moment, I'm still there, and that's FFXIVSEYRR. You can also find me on the Phoenix Down Radio Discord. Always happy to get the chat. Yeah. Love chatting with you folks. Love answering your questions about Final Fantasy XIV, about other games. While these shoutouts were going on, I just dumped a whole bunch of FF13 lore on Marvelous, and he is going to love it, I am sure. There's an entire thing about the added matter principle. Oh, as a friend of mine once said, I am everything that H.P. Lovecraft warned us about.
Basically. As always, shout outs to these 2 lunatics, Taliz and Seyrr. Taliz, great to have you back. Seyrr, great to always have you here. I really do appreciate both of you. Shout out to Vatic, to Nicknar, who are joining me live today, helping out with Extra Life. Thank you so much for all your help. I hope you guys are enjoying the pizza. Shout out to everybody who's donated to our Extra Life campaign throughout the year. We still have $425 to get to our goal. So if you have a few bucks to donate, we would greatly appreciate that. It's for the kids, so please help out, sick, injured kids. That's what we're here, why we've been streaming since noon today. If you want to follow me out on Twitter, I am at PHXDN_KLAUSS. Or like I said, I am also on the Discord quite a bit. That's probably the best place to find us, especially with the state of things right now on social media platforms. Come join our community. We try to be as, let's call it a fun level of toxic. There's enough shit posting just to be fun. It's a
shit posting's not toxic though.
It depends
shit posting
on
is
what
a
end you're
basic
on.
means of human communication.
Which end of the shit posting are you on? That's going to determine how toxic it is. Anyway, come join us. It's a lot of fun. For my co-host Seyrr Timono, for Taliz Marvelous, I am Klauss and Seyrr, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to continue with Extra Life after this, but we'll see you on the next episode.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy 14 and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/GuiltyGearRockYou. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.